Let's get right into it, man. Let's start with the intro. So you have a D chord, and a C chord, and a G chord. But you really don't need all the fingers, you just need these two, and then these two, and then these two. So the first part, you're playing an open D string twice, and then B on the 3rd fret with your 3rd finger, and then G on the 2nd fret with your 1st finger. And you really want to let those ring out like this. Your next chord, or the next thing you're playing, is to move your 2 finger over to the 3rd fret of the A string, and you're playing 2 A strings. And then you're going to play a B again with the 3rd finger, and then an open G string. So that sounds like. And then you're going to put your 2nd finger on the 3rd fret of the big E string, and you're going to play 2 E strings, and then you're just going to strum 1 note through G, B, and D, G, and B. So all together you have this sound. And then there your first in between, and that little riff repeats a whole bunch in this song. Moving on to the next riff, you're going to have a bunch of hammer-ons and pull-offs. A hammer-on is where you take your left hand finger and it's like you're playing it, you're picking it like you would your right hand. So you have an open A string and then a hammer-on to the 2nd fret with your 1st finger. And then we're moving on to the D string, and you're going to play that open and then hammer on and then pull off, which is kind of like flicking the string. A pull off is. See how I flicked it? Then you go back to the A string, and you're going to do you're starting on the 2nd fret with that 1st finger, and then you're going to pick, flick, and hammer. So all of that together is like this. And then you go back home. And then your 2nd riff is all on the G string. So you're going to pick, flick, pick. And the way that I'm doing the picking with my right hand is I'm picking down, hanging out on that B string is just like a way to stop, flicking, and then picking back up. Down, flick, up. Then that same thing happens on the 4th fret of the G string with your ring finger. So you're going to pick, flick, pick. And I'm doing that same down, hang, up on that string. And then I move my ring finger up to the 5th fret of the G string because it's easier to bend with my 3rd finger. And actually I'm using other fingers to help with the bending. See how they're all hanging out? And when you're bending a string, what you're really wanting to do is to think about sliding that string along the fret like it's a railing. Like, you got a little train, your finger's a little train, and it's going along that track. So, and then you're going to stop it with your right hand when you get to the top. So, and I'm doing that like this. So let's get it more. I'm doing that like this. Okay. So all of that together sounds like this. And you can actually pull to get the same effect. Pushing or pulling is the same with bending. And then you're back home again. Now our next in-between riff is a lot like the first one. It just ends differently. So you've got A string, pick, open, and then hammer on the 2nd fret. And then pick, hammer, flick on the 2nd fret of the D string. And then you come back to the A string, and you keep that finger down to let that string ring out on the 2nd fret. And then you're going to take your 2 finger and put it on the 2nd fret of the G string, and you're going to pick and pull off there. So, see how that kept ringing out? Altogether, that sounds like this. Then we're back home again. And your last riff in the intro is a open A string, hammer on to the 2nd fret, open D string, open G string. But you want to keep that that 1st finger down on that 2nd fret so that it keeps ringing out while the other 2 are ringing out as well. Alright, so let's put all this together. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so now we move on to the verse. This is like a simplified version of the intro. You're going to have 2 open D strings, and then you're just going to strum the D, G, and B string like you do on the last chord, that G chord. So, and then you move to the C chord and you do the same thing. And then the G chord, the same thing. And then your first riff is the same as the last riff of the intro. When you come back home and you have bass, bass chord again. So E, string, G, B, and D. Then you go back and do the same thing you did for the first time. And then back to the second thing. Now we're going to look at the interlude. The interlude starts on the 7th fret of the A string. So you're going to take your first finger and you're going to pick the A string and then hammer onto the 8th fret and then the 9th fret like this. So 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9. Then you're going to take that first finger and you're going to bar the G and B strings together. And that looks like that from that view. And then I'm strumming the G and D strings together. And then I'm taking that third finger and moving it back to the 9th fret, and then I'm going to do a little slide off. So this doesn't need to be extreme. You're just doing it a little bit to get that effect. And sliding, you need to keep a constant contact with the string, so until you want to let go. So then you just, instead of like taking your finger away, you're just not pushing down anymore. Then you're going to move to the 8th fret with your 2 finger, so that what we're doing is we're taking this position and moving it from here to here and then to here. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 here, and then 1, 2, 3 here, and then 1, 2, 3 here. So your 2 finger goes on the 8th fret of the A string, and you're going to hammer onto the 9th fret with your 3 finger. And then you're going to bar the D and G strings again and play 2 of those. And then your ring finger comes back to the 7th fret and you have another slide off. So that part sounds like... If we put those 2 things together, we have this. And now we're on an open A string, and then we're going to hammer on the 1st and 2nd frets with the 1 and 2 fingers. And then 2 open G strings. And then I take my 3rd finger and I put it on the 3rd fret of the big E. Put all that together and it sounds like this. And then all of that repeats, so here's what it sounds like all together. And then at the end you have a harken back to one of those in-between riffs. So you're going to hammer on to the A string after you've picked it with the 2nd finger, and then an open D string. And then you're starting back on a verse part again. Now we're on to the chorus. So that riff leads you into the chorus. So that riff is open A, hammer on to the 2nd fret, and then an open D, open G, and then your 1 finger goes to the 2nd fret of the D string, and then an open A, and hammer on to that. Now for the chorus, you have a lot like the verse with this, the 2 Ds, chord, 2 Cs, or 2 A strings on the 3rd fret, and then you have 2 3rd fret G and 2 open D string at the same time, so that sounds like this. What's happening is I'm taking this finger and I'm putting it down on the E string, but it's leaning up against that finger, so it ends up being muted. And then I skip over it or I play through it to get to the D string. So I play those 3 strings, but only 2 ring out. And then I put my 1st finger on the 2nd fret of the D string, and I do the same thing. Then you have an open A, hammer on the 2nd fret, open D, hammer onto the 2nd fret, open, pull off. So, and then you're going to put your 2nd finger on the 3rd fret of the A string and bend that a little bit. And then you go back to the bass chord, D string, with the 1 here on the 2nd fret and 3 here on the 3rd fret of the G and B strings, and then you have 2 basses on the A string and the chord. chord again, third finger on the B string, open D, G, and then instead of going to that G chord there, you're going to play this riff 5 times. So it's an open D string and then hammer on, and then an open G string. And that happens 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you're going to take your 2 finger and you're going to pick the 3rd fret on the A string and slide to the 5th fret. And that starts you over again. So you have that same thing again, and that same thing again, and one more time through. And then you have this power chord where you have the pinky finger on the 3rd fret of the D string, the ring finger on the 3rd fret of the A string, and your 1st finger on the 1st fret of the big E, and you play those 3, and then you're going to move up from this F power chord to a C power chord. So you take that whole shape and you move it up 2 frets and you move it over 2 frets. So if we put all of that together, we have this. What we've learned so far covers most of the parts to the song. If you learn all of those, then you can make it through the entire song. Now we're going to do play along so that you can work on gaining speed with each part. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and... 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.